Are we live? I can't hear you guys.
Live.
We are live, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. I thought it was my headset.
No, you're
Okay.
good.
Now that we're officially live, pal, welcome to Armbar, the Valley's only home for pro wrestling and MMA radio talk. I, of course, the rock star Jay Ochoa, joined by Mike the Biz, and, of course, 7-star Jaime Esteban. And with all that's happened this past week with AEW Dynamite and all that's going on in the world of wrestling, we knew this episode of Armbar just could not be enough with just the three of us as it usually is. We had to bring in the heavy artillery. Ladies and gentlemen, the very infamous Devlin Frost. Adon is in the house tonight on Armbar.
What's going on, guys? It's been a long time, and it's good to be back. And boy, do we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Winter came, and good Lord, so did I. Oh,
Oh, man, just talk about the surprises that came along from this past Wednesday's Dynamite. All I can say is, where do we start?
I mean, like you guys said, this past Thanksgiving break, gave us a little time for breather, turkey time, everything. And Monday just came in, and boom, we were already started with feuds. So come TLC, it's going to be The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Due to the altercation that Randy Orton had with Alexa Bliss, he pretty much carried her and threw Alexa Bliss to The Fiend, trying to play some mind games right there. We also have a number one contender for the WWE Championship in the name of AJ Styles, as he will take on the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre at TLC. We also had some matches announced earlier tonight on SmackDown. The WWE Tag Team Women's Tag Team Championships will be on the line against Asuka and Lana, as Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax will defend those titles as well. And also a TLC match between Kevin Owens and the reigning defending Universal Champion Roman Reigns has been announced for tonight as well.
Definitely looking to be a very good card come TLC. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Kevin Owens knock Roman Reigns not off the throne, but off the head of the table and become once again the Universal Champion. But at the same time, though, Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles, the first time ever match. I definitely look forward to that. Drew McIntyre's definitely been one of the MVPs of this year's WWE in 2020, especially with all that's going on in the world today. And also, of course, The Fiend versus Randy Orton. I mean, this is almost like how at one point I compared the original Orton Wyatt family to that of Dexter Morgan and the guy that was in season 4. It's been a while. Mike, refresh me on that. The name of the lead villain in season 4, the one that killed Dexter's wife at the end.
The Ice Truck Killer?
No, that was season 1.
The Trinity Killer, I think that's what you mean.
Yeah, the Trinity Killer,
yeah.
which was played by John Lithgow. That's how I kind of always viewed that particular rivalry. But this one, now the roles are reversed, with Orton trying to get into the head of the Fiend. But is this a place that even Orton, who listens to voices, is that a place even he wants to be at into the demented mind of the Fiend, Bray Wyatt? But ultimately, that's going to be looking good. Same thing with this weekend's War Games show with the 2 War Games matches. We got, of course, the Undisputed Era, baby, taking on Pat McAfee's team, which includes himself, Pete Dunne, and the NXT Tag Team Champions, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. The Undisputed Era, they've been to the War Games matches in NXT, to what the 4 Horsemen was in the NWA War Games back in the late 80s, early 90s. The Undisputed Era has only won 1 War Games. That was the very first one in 2017 at NXT, when they beat Sanity as well as AOP and Roderick Strong, who was before the Undisputed Era. But since then, it's not been a very good match for the Undisputed Era. But hopefully that turns around this Sunday, when they can not only beat up on Dunn, Lorcan, and Burch, but also perhaps silence the irritating voice of Pat McAfee, who has become, almost reminds me a lot of what Paulie Dangerously was when he had his version of the Midnight Express against the at that point, modern version of the Midnight Express back in '88. It's almost like the Undisputed Era went from being villains to good guys just by how annoying Pat McAfee is when you really think about it. And then, of course, the women's War Games match, Shotzi Blackheart, the women's champion Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, and Ember Moon taking on, of course, the villains in this case, that being, of course, the Poison Pixie, Candice LeRae, the RGB's own Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and the most recent turn, Tony Storm. Out of the 2 War Games matches, which one are you looking more forward to, Jaime?
I mean, last year we had the first ever women's War Games match, and that one delivered very well. It's kind of hard to actually pick because, I mean, you have this ongoing feud between the Undisputed Era with Pat McAfee and also the NXT Tag Team Champs and Pete Dunne. But you, as mentioned, you have the current women's War Games. I mean, I think I'm gonna go with the men's because it's been seeds planted little by little that started off at NXT Takeover 30, continued at NXT Takeover 31, the last event that they had about 2 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And this should be just the final chapter between these two teams. Undisputed Era, trying to show that they're still the dominant stable in NXT, but here comes Pat McAfee and his friends, dubbed themselves as the Kings of NXT, and they want to stake their claim and say, hey, you know what, Undisputed Era, that's old news. Right now, it's the King of NXT. So it should be that match should be a very good hard-hitting match. And I mean, you also have the triple threat North American Championship between the defending champion Leon Ruff, Johnny Gargano, and Damian Priest. You have the strap match between Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes, and also announced this past week, Tommaso Ciampa is going to go one-on-one against Timothy Thatcher as well. And we know what Timothy Thatcher is not a walk in the park that easy. He's ruthless, and he is willing to knock out whoever is there. And he literally just choked out Tommaso Ciampa this past Wednesday on NXT. So I'm interested on how Ciampa is going to respond this coming Sunday.
I mean, that's going to be a real scrap, as of course it's Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. Nothing fancy, nothing pretty, just a couple of ugly-looking dudes who just love a good fight, and us 4 ugly-looking dudes want to see a very good fight on Sunday at NXT TakeOver War Games. But would you say Undisputed Era's beef with Pat McAfee and his team, you said final, like perhaps final chapter, would you say it's their final battle?
Probably. I mean, like I said, they've been going on for these past couple of months. It started off during the summer when Adam Cole was a guest on Pat McAfee's podcast, and Pat McAfee just said some things and just pretty much pissed off Adam Cole. And Adam Cole apologized, online as well. Pat McAfee showed up to NXT and pretty much still instigated, pissed off even more Adam Cole, to a point where Pat McAfee kicked Adam Cole before their match at NXT TakeOver 30. So I mean, for them to continue like that and just keep on going at it, I mean, like I said, it should be a good match. And Pat McAfee, I honestly thought that his debut match against Adam Cole was going to be, it's just going to be another jobber match, or it's just going to be a quick squash match. It wasn't. Pat McAfee literally showed that he is nothing. He's not someone to be just taken advantage of. He was able to showcase his wrestling moves, and he is able to fight. So it should be a really good match, and especially, with this War Games, 2 rings, 1 steel cage, and it's not over until, everyone's in there and it's just a 1-fall match. So we've seen how ruthless, how violent these matches can be, and it's an all-out war right there.
Basically, the War Pigs of Destruction, as of course narrated by the Dark Sounds of Black Sabbath, which we'll be covering as the soundtrack of NXT TakeOver War Games this Sunday. But I did mention Final Battle. Wanted to break in Adon here, in which Final Battle, some big matches have been signed. Adon, wanted to get your opinion on some of the big marquee matches signed for the December 18th marquee show, which is Ring of Honor's version of WrestleMania, their version of Wrestle Kingdom, starting with the world title on the line, Roosh, going one-on-one against Brody King. Your thoughts on that championship match coming up at Final Battle?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, when I think of world championship matches, Roosh definitely is a man that you can put up there. I mean, the guy's a beast. And if you remember very well at Supercard of Honor, G1 Supercard of Honor, he did quick work of Dalton Castle. He beat my personal favorite, Matt Taven, for said championship. However, one thing that and of course, then he lost to PCO and then he won it back. But when I think of world title contenders, Brody King was never really somebody that I thought of right away as being put in that spot. He's kind of like in the position that Jay White was when they put him in charge of the Bullet Club. And no offense to Brody King, the guy's great, but there are so many other people that you could have put up against Roosh that would have given him a better competition. One person that comes to mind right away who, because of COVID, can't travel back is
Mark Haskins.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
that's exactly who I was thinking of. Mark Haskins, and then you got someone like Tracy Williams, who's actually coming up with the foundation. You have Jonathan Gresham, who just won the Pure Championship, so he would be a great person to put up against him. For Final Battle, I just don't see Brody King being the guy to face Roosh, but I mean, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Nothing against Brody King. If there's Brody King fans out there, I mean, that's great, but he was part of the Enterprise with Villain Enterprises, my bad.
Yeah.
With Marty Scurll. So, I'm not too big on that. I'm going for Roosh 100% on that one. Again, no offense to Brody King, but that's just my opinion on that particular match. And
also, of course, a little bit of a debate that we might be seeing here. One of the other big matches signed, of course, Jay Briscoe going one-on-one against EC3. Don and Jaime, I'll let you have at it with this one.
Jaime, since you love the Briscoe so much, I'll let you go.
No, sir. No. Like I told Jay this past week, Jay Briscoe does not define the Code of Honor. Yes, I understand that, he's held the Ring of Honor World Championship, multiple times. Twice, okay. But he doesn't he doesn't personify what the Code of Honor is. And with his initial match with EC3, all he had to do is just shake the man's hand, and that's it, and just carry on and have a fantastic match. What ended up happening? The guy gets himself disqualified. Why? Just because EC3 will not look at him straight in the eyes. But why wouldn't EC3 look at him straight in the eyes? Because the guy has no respect. Jay Briscoe has no respect. And he will forever be to me, the most disliked guy alongside his brother Mark, because their last names are Briscoe and they're not related to Gerald Briscoe. They will be very, very disliked to me. And honestly, you need guys with honor. You need a guy like EC3 that will bring back honor. Yes, Jay, you mentioned to me that Jonathan Gresham has the Pure Championship, and that is basically, a Code of Honor right there. But you need to instill it and bring it back to his heydays, with your Daniel Bryans, your Samoa Joes, all those alumni that would instill the Code of Honor. And that's what you need. So I'm very confident that EC3 will beat down Jay Briscoe and instill the Code of Honor right there.
It has been a long time since I've heard you talk on a podcast or a stream service or whatever you want to call. It's been a long time since I've heard you talk. You were a Melvin then, and you're a Melvin now.
How am I a Melvin? How?
The only difference between then is that back then you sounded like Byron Saxton. Now you sound like Corey Graves.
Really?
But let me, you were spouting off a lot of gibberish there. You're defending EC3. so well. But you want to talk about honor, brother? Jay Briscoe has been there for a long time. That man has been there from the time when they were performing in gymnasiums. All right. That man has worked his ass off to be where he is. And EC3 specifically said he was going after the guys who paved the way. And of course, a lot of the people that he mentioned aren't there anymore because WWE decided to swoop them all up. But Jay Briscoe never left. Jay Briscoe has honor. Now, one thing that I did agree with my friend Saul on this was that this is a chance to see EC3 shine in a completely different light. Because you had him in TNA as Dixie Carter's nephew, privileged nephew. They ruined him in WWE again. And then now he's out there trying to make a name for himself, and he's going after the top guns. I'm not going to say the other word because I might get copyrighted by WWE, but yeah. So he's going to go after, and who better, man? Who better to bring out the very best in EC3 than Jay Briscoe? There's nobody else. Everybody else is busy. Nobody has any time. Jay Briscoe's willing to get into a fight. Honor or not, Jay Briscoe's going to put EC3 in his place. I want to see what EC3's got because I haven't seen him wrestle outside of the,
corporate in
Impact
Connecticut.
Zone and WWE's bullshit system. But I want to see what he's got. I am personally invested, but I, unlike you, am going for Jay Briscoe.
Well, I mean, we all know that you are a Briscoe fan. That's fine. I have nothing against you. We have our difference in opinions. However, like I said, EC3 will outshine Jay Briscoe, force down on him the code of honor, move on to someone bigger in Ring of Honor. Like
See, the
a
big
Jay
difference
Lethal.
between another major difference is that you keep looking down at your little script down there. I'm speaking from the gut, from the heart. I'm speaking like a real, true, diehard Ring of Honor fan, and you're there reading your little scripts about how
What
EC3
script?
is
I don't have a script.
this and how he's that. Come on, man. Just because people can't see it. You want to know what I'm holding? I'm holding a shot.
And of course,
Now, let's not pay attention to the fact that it's got a logo on the shot. All right.
That's fine.
This was a gift. All right. From my friends that went to WrestleMania. All right. It's a gift. I was there in spirit.
And also, of course, Adon, wanted to get your thoughts on the recent return of Mike Bennett, who recently helped out Matt Taven in Taven's War with the Righteous, in which also includes Vincent, who at one point was part of the second coming of the Kingdom after Bennett went on to, let's just say, other ventures in early 2016 before making his way back. Your thoughts on Bennett's return and what this could mean for Ring of Honor having two-fourths of the original Kingdom back in the saddle.
Now, before we continue, let me just correct you there. It's not Vincent, okay? His name's Vinny, all right?
Yeah,
that little
right.
Melvin, that little monster Melvin that thinks he's all hot and bothered and just says, man, all the time in his promos. He's, man, I'm going to get you, man. He sounds like a knockoff of Cheech and Chong, man. He's Rob Zombie off of Wish is what he is.
I guess you don't.
That's basically what he is. That little Rob Zombie Wish Melvin that they got.
I guess you
Now,
don't dig
as
what
far
he's
as my
saying.
thoughts on the return of Mike Bennett, I am so happy to see him there again, man. It brought back so many wonderful memories of the original Kingdom with Adam Cole, WWE. Yeah, I'm so happy to see him there. Adam Cole, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and the lovely Maria Kanellis. Let us not forget about her.
Yes.
I hope she comes back too.
Yes.
We need to see that. But I am ecstatic. I am happy. I'm glad that somebody's there to have Taven's back. And not only that, but this isn't just having Taven's back. I foresee good things happening for Bennett now that he's back, now that he's in Ring of Honor where he should have been the whole time. He got the short end of the stick in Impact or TNA or whatever the fuck you called it back then. And then let's not even talk about what happened in WWE. I mean, granted, yes, it was kind of his fault because he kind of let it slip, in Maria, and they had a baby. But that's completely not his fault. You know, I would probably do the same. But yeah, man, I'm ecstatic to have the original Kingdom back. I don't know if they're gonna go. I don't know if they're officially going with the OGK or if they're going with the original Kingdom, but the sign's still the same. It used to be the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
But now it's the Kingdom, and it's been the Kingdom for quite a while. So.
And of course, last question regarding Final Battle. Just signed, of course, the 6-man titles on the line. Mexa Squad, which is Ray Horus, Bandito, and Flamita taking on Shane Taylor and the Sons of Savagery. Hyman, Adon, your thoughts on that match and any possible prediction?
I think. Go ahead. You go first.
No, well, I was just gonna say, you know, Mexico's 2.0 versus the BDK, the Beatdown Clan 3.0. I think I'm gonna go with the Beatdown Clan 3.0.
I gotta agree with that. On for once, I'm gonna agree with you for once.
Holy
Right?
shit! It must be winter. It's
Well, I mean,
cold in here
again, winter did come this past Wednesday,
now.
so I am I am gonna go for Shane Taylor's team because again, the guy personifies Ring of Honor, and what a better way to have the 6-man tag team titles around his waist again, have gold around his waist again, because the last time he's held championship gold was with the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, and there's also going to be a Ring of Honor TV Championship match. Before that match starts, there's going to be a four-corner survival match between Tony Deppen, LSG, Josh Woods, and Dak Draper, and the winner will take on Dragon Lee for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. So like I said, my pick will be Shane Taylor Promotions right there.
I could definitely see Shane Taylor and the Sons of Savagery, especially since the difference between Taylor and the Sons of Savagery against the Mexa Squad is we've been seeing Shane Taylor and or the Sons of Savagery regularly on Ring of Honor television since Ring of Honor return back in late September, early October. We haven't seen much of Bandito, Ray Horus, or Flamita really since right prior to the pandemic. So will ring rust play a factor? We'll definitely see come December 18th when the 6-man titles are at stake. But yeah, you're right. It is a little bit chilly here in South Texas. Winter did come, but of course it landed in Jacksonville, Florida this past Wednesday night on Dynamite. And I got to ask, did anyone see it coming? The arrival of perhaps the greatest wrestling superstar not to be made by Vince McMahon, the icon, the man called Sting, making his debut.
Not at all, man. Not at all. I'm gonna tell you this. So, like, I was head over heels looking forward to that main event match.
Of course,
you had Kenny Omega versus John Moxley. They were building up really good to it. This whole Kenny's just whole thing since his feud with Adam Page, going into Full Gear, having Justin Roberts do that really long, detailed intro. Like, I was
love
like,
it.
man, like he's really just kind of digging in all those facts and just kind of sprinkling in everything. You was just sprinkling it on, brother. It got very sexual. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but I can honestly tell you, the last thing that was on my mind. So I saw the card and I was like, all right, this card looks pretty good. You're gonna have Jericho versus Kazarian. You're gonna have Britt Baker versus it was
Layla Hirsch.
Layla Hirsch, thank you. Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch. You had the battle
AEW
royal
Diamond.
for the Dynamite Diamond Ring,
Yep.
which that one honestly, I my thoughts on that one were completely different. I thought it was going to go a completely different way. Didn't end the way it ended halfway the way I thought. But the rest of the show, as far as the tag team match with Darby and Cody versus Hobbs and Starks. Like I was looking forward to that one, but the Omega Moxley match was one that I was waiting for, and I pretty much knew how it was going to end. I had a feeling it was going to go to Kenny, but I mean, oh man, like we'll get into it when we discuss the show. But I did not see what happened after the tag team match with Cody and Darby. Didn't see that happening. What happened with the the outcome of the Moxley Omega match was just it brought back so many memories of like old WCW, you know, like there was just so many little nuances to WCW back then, and like you have to admit, for a 2-hour show, they put so much into that.
Oh yeah.
There are so many stories that they kind of spread out through the entire thing. Like there was at least 3 or 4 different stories that happened inside of the Diamond Ring or the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal.
Mm-hmm.
There was like 4 storylines that were building up in there. You had, you know, your women's division, you had that building up, and then there was Rebel. That's right, Rebel. Hyman, can you hear me? Rebel.
It's Reba.
Whatever. It's, you know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna have a huge discussion with your wife about that.
Yeah.
That's for a later time. Right now, we're gonna talk about Winter is Coming. But yeah, the whole thing just insane. So, Hyman, thoughts?
All right. So as mentioned earlier, you know, this past Wednesday, AEW Winter is Coming was the title of this special event. You know, the first match on the card was the AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. Came down to MJF and Orange Cassidy. Initially, it was down to MJF, Wardlow, and Sammy Guevara, and also Jungle Boy and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy was knocked out outside due to I want to say it was an elimination from Kip Sabian.
I think he was attacked by Miro at some point in the Battle Royal and tossed to the outside, but never over the top.
So he was tossed underneath the bottom rope. So it was initially down to Jungle Boy and the Inner Circle members, Guevara, MJF, and Wardlow. MJF ended up eliminating Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy from the top rope.
Correction.
Okay.
He did not eliminate Sammy Guevara.
Okay.
He eliminated Jungle Boy. Sammy Guevara was just an unfortunate casualty that was in the line of fire when it happened. That's all that was.
Okay.
MJF will attest to that fact. All right. I saw it with my very own eyes. He was merely just trying to get rid of Jungle Boy and get rid of him of any competition. Poor Sammy was just in the way. Wrong place, wrong time. Just had to correct you on that.
Okay. So I'll take that correction and just stick it somewhere. And then from there, Orange Cassidy, you know, came back into the ring, was about to be eliminated by MJF and Wardlow. However, Orange Cassidy ended up eliminating Wardlow, and it was just down to those two. So Orange Cassidy and MJF will compete for the AEW Diamond Ring next week on AEW Dynamite. Second match on the card was Chris Jericho versus SCU member Frankie Kazarian with Jake Hager and Ortiz in Jericho's corner. Jericho ended up beating Kazarian with the Judas Effect. However, it was at the end of the match that kind of had me twisted, or not confused, but, you know, MJF, sir, tried to throw in the towel, and Sammy Guevara just ended up taking away from him to stop him from throwing the towel. Why? Why would MJF throw the towel or attempt to throw the towel, Adon?
Was MJF looking out for Jericho's best interests?
Look.
The last time MJF had a towel, he looked into the best interest for Cody and ended up assaulting him after the match. So I call BS right there.
Those were two very different situations.
Really, okay?
Very different situations.
Educate me, young sir.
He didn't even go out to throw the towel. He just had a towel in case Jericho needed to wipe anything off of his brow.
Oh, really?
That's all it was.
Really?
You're looking way too much into it, Juan. The one that was going to throw in the towel was Sammy.
Sammy was not going to throw his mentor's towel.
Sammy was in a panic, okay? Sammy was upset. He was in a panic. He made it out to the ring. It's all there in black and white.
All right.
You know what? You got to stop wearing those rebel glasses that you wear all the time.
So let me ask you this. So what happened after the match? All right. Why was Jericho upset?
Jericho was upset because Sammy was making a fuss outside of the ring. Not only that, but Sammy was the one that attacked MJF.
Okay.
Unprovoked, by the way.
Why?
MJF didn't do anything to even deserve to be struck at.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. No, hey. Look, man. Sammy's young. He's young, dumb, and full of bad decisions. Really? Is what he is.
I'm hoping that Guevara is watching this And the next WrestleFest that he comes over, I'm hoping that he just shakes your hand and kicks you in the nuts right there.
Look, man, look. Hey, you have to understand. I respect Sam. Look, man, I had his back. All right, I had his back when specific things happened. But look, there were things that you just don't understand. Okay, it's like when you bring in somebody new into a group. You know, you're trying to get them situated. You want them to feel comfortable. You know, that's what they got to do with MJF and Wardlow. They got to get used to it. They're not used to it because, I mean, come on, man. That type of immense popularity. I mean, number one, he's a great wrestler. He's a great singer. You know, he was on the Rosie O'Donnell show. I don't know if you know that fact. That's a good fact
Yes.
right there.
Yep, I saw that interview.
And he still owed royalties from that because, I mean, she pretty much leached off of his popularity as a child. So, you know, there's that whole thing. But, you know,
well,
I digress.
Well,
okay?
let's get a third party's. Let's get a tiebreaker here, Mike. Your thoughts on what happened during the match between Jericho and Kazarian? Was MJF there with a towel in his hand to throw it, or was Sammy Guevara going to be the one to do so? Mike, let's get your opinion on this one. Let's get a tiebreaker here. Mike,
I think he stepped away from the mic.
Okay,
Literally.
Mike stepped away from the mic. Okay.
But look, I just want to touch on something because, you know, I figured since, you know, good old Jamie there was, you know, going through his paperwork, you know, he didn't cover all the stuff from the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal.
Oh, there he is.
Before we get Mike's thoughts on the whole, you know, Jericho, Sammy, MJF towel debacle. All right.
It's fun.
And the Dynamite Diamond Rumble or Battle Royal. There's a lot of things that I mentioned earlier. There were so many storylines that happened. You had the Matt Hardy, Adam Page little hint of a feud that's going to happen there. You had the Dark Order and Adam Page, you know, seemingly having like a kinship starting to be built. You had Miro versus Wardlow, a showdown that I look forward to down the road at some point.
Battle of the Bulls.
You had the beginnings of Sammy's internal unfortunate breakdown after, you know, the certain occurrences. I mean, they were a unit.
Unfortunate breakdown. Unfortunate breakdown.
Unfortunate, man.
Okay.
Unfortunate breakdown.
All right.
You know, hey, look, I would be upset too if you know, if let's say it was Jamie, the Melvin, and Jungle Boy. And if I were to push Jungle Boy and Jamie the Melvin was in the way and he fell out of the ring, that would be completely different. You know, same thing.
That would be intentional. That would be intentional.
That's not intentional. If I'm only going for one person.
Okay. MJF could have at least helped out Sammy Guevara eliminate Jungle Boy off the top rope and onto the floor. But he didn't. He pushed both of them off. Not just one.
Jamie,
both.
Jamie, look. Jamie, look. We also got to talk about Spears versus Scorpio Sky. That was nothing that happened inside of that. But other than that, you missed a lot of stuff that was in there.
All right.
It's okay. You probably weren't paying much of attention because you were waiting for
okay.
But that's not important. Anyways, well, Mike, Mike, Jay wanted to pose this question to you because, you know, as you can tell, me and Jaime are in this heated debate as to whether or not it was intentional of MJF, who was out there merely just to show some support to his, you know, his new leader in the inner circle, Chris Jericho, you know, the Ayatollah of rock and roll. He took out a towel, and as I mentioned, he had the towel in case Jericho needed to wipe his brow during the match.
Yeah.
And Jamie over here is claiming that he was going to throw in the towel to force his leader to lose a match against Frankie Kazarian. I mean, come on, really? Against Frankie Kazarian? You know, really?
Yeah, like I enjoyed that little bit, actually. It was very funny.
But then you have Sammy come out, who takes the towel from MJF.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you watch carefully, if you go back and watch the replay, he literally pulls back like he's going to throw the towel inside the ring. And who stops him? MJF stops him. And, you know, much to Chris Jericho's unfortunate surprise, you know, he was a little taken back, he was a little upset. And then Sammy, unprovoked, attacked Maxwell Jacob Friedman. for no reason other than just to air out his grievances for what happened earlier in the Battle Royal. So we wanted to get your thoughts and your opinions on that situation.
Well, first of all, that's definitely not what I saw.
Exactly. Thank you.
This may be construed by different parties, right? But what I saw was, okay, MJF went out there.
You know what? I'm gonna take a page. I'm gonna take a page from the Republicans, and I'm gonna claim false news right there.
Okay.
False news.
I'm
False news.
not a political person. I'm not a political person.
All right.
I'm just gonna say that now. But I'm gonna take a page out of the Republicans, and I'm gonna say that you and Jamie, you all took those ballots, those false ideas, and you just took a huge dump, like the POTUS said. Right?
Okay, this is what I saw.
Is that what he said? Something about a huge dump. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm just turning for nuance, and people can kind of have an idea. I'm speaking out loud here.
Okay. Let me interrupt or let me interject. Okay, because this is what I saw. Okay, again, I saw a pretty good match first of all, and then MJF. I don't know why he goes out there to begin with. There was really no reason for him to go out and interfere in this match.
Thank you.
So he goes out. He's holding the towel. I don't know what's going on. And again, Sammy Guevara obviously definitely comes out here and he looks like he's out there to question MJF why he's there and what he's doing with the towel. So Jericho, he's still, duking it out and he's not even paying attention to what's going on. But by the time Jericho does turn his head, Sammy Guevara already has the towel in his hand, and he has the towel behind his head because he yanked it from MJF's hand. That's why, okay. So he was not about to throw in the towel. I think he was just caught in the heat of the moment where he was a little bit physical with MJF, and then he wasn't gonna throw. He wasn't even facing the ring, from what I remember. So that's what I saw, pretty much.
All right. So look, this is what we're gonna do. After this whole thing is done, I want all of you to go back to the 36th and 32nd mark.
Oh
and
my
listen
God.
to him specifically, and you'll hear Mike say that MJF went out there. He doesn't know why. He wasn't interfering because he never did anything to get inside the ring, or he never did anything to Kazarian. He was standing there. And again, you go back to the 36th and 32nd mark, and you'll hear Mike the Biz specifically say he was just standing there. And then, the way Mike said it, Sammy comes out to question, grabs a towel from him, and he reels it back because Sammy was going to throw it in. Go back. Everybody who's watching this, go back at 36 minutes and 30 seconds and listen to Mike give his description. Word for word, verbatim, he's on my side. Doesn't realize it, but you know what? That's exactly what it is. I'm not going to let him take a huge dump of information and just pile it on there, because – and I'm going to do a 46-minute video and complain about how Jamie is. I'm not gonna do that. I got shit to do. I'm not gonna bother you people with a 46-minute video and cry and complain like a certain orange Cheeto yellow-haired moron who's running the United States. But either way, I digress. We're not getting political on this. All right, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a lot of hate comments.
Just to let y'all know, he's a guest. So if you guys want to get him, his name. No, I'm just kidding.
He also lives at.
Going back to Jay's original question about were we surprised to see Sting there that evening or debut in AEW that evening? I was not surprised actually, although I thought it was going to happen a little bit earlier in the year. He was rumored to be at the last pay-per-view actually, which didn't end up going down. So. But it's been going around the rumor mill that he was going to be joining or making some sort of appearance in AEW the past couple months already. So it really wasn't a shock to me, although I didn't expect for them to sign him to a multi-year deal like they said. So let's hope that there will be some in-ring action from him, soon or eventually. I don't know how restricted he is with his neck or what's going on there. Obviously, WWE had it in their own right to say we can't have you wrestle here anymore because of your restrictions or of your injuries. So that's one of the reasons why he ended up just retiring and leaving altogether. So I'm interested to see the type of feuds that he's going to get himself in. Obviously, he had that little stare down with Darby Allin in the ring.
His son.
A little bit of sign of respect. You know what I mean? And of course, that little stare down with Cody. Apparently, him and obviously there's a history there with his family as well. So I'm definitely excited to see that. And of course, since I'm talking here, right? Let's talk about the bet that I lost. I'm 0-2 versus Jay over here. So let me just
Never place a bet against Jay.
let me just go ahead and say it for the people, for the non-existent people that are watching, because I don't think anyone's watching.
No, there's people watching.
Let me
But
just
whoever-
say that. Let me just say that this is something I've waited to hear for the last 3 years. Mike,
Okay.
the floor is yours.
Okay, so Jay has waited for me to say this for the past 3 years, and as you can see, I'm wearing his shirt over here, Kenny Omega. So as I lost the bet to Jay, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. Okay, there, I said it. I'm gonna go throw it now.
And now, and of course, Omega's got the championship to
Hey,
prove it. Of course,
Kenny Omega is the best.
There you go.
wrestler
There you
in the
go.
world, okay. Let
There
me
you
turn
go.
off my camera so you guys can see the little emoji that I have there.
His little icon, his updated icon for tonight's show.
AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
Mr. 7 Stars himself. And unfortunately, no disrespect to you, Jaime, but this is the man that put 7 Stars on the map with his award-winning battle with Kazuchika Okada at Dominion 2018, Mr. Kenny Omega.
Hey, I'm Kenny Omega. Yeah.
And before we continue, I want to go ahead and plug in this event, guys. Christmas is around the corner. Especially now with COVID, it's kind of hard to travel. There's a lot of people that unfortunately aren't working. Such as myself, and Adon as well. There's an event happening here in the city of Edinburgh. Sunday, December 20th, will be the Toys for Tots collectible show. There's going to be sports cards, Funko Pops, comics, and more. It is from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The admission, all you have to do is just bring one unwrapped toy. If you need any vendor spots, it's just one toy between the value of $25 and $30 value. D&D memorabilia will be one of the vendors there. So is Texas Wrestling League as well. Please, go on, stop by, gift an unwrapped toy. These toys will be taken to the Edinburgh Children's Hospital for the kids to spend Christmas on, because unfortunately, with all these different things happening, they are unfortunately going to have to spend Christmas here in the hospital. But just do something nice. Please make it out there. One unwrapped toy, guys. It's nothing hard. Nothing too fancy. If you have any questions, just go ahead and contact Pablo Cantu if you want to go ahead and reserve your table, or if you want to go ahead and stop by, say hello to Danny and for the D&D memorabilia vendor spot, and also Cassie, as she's going to be representing Texas Wrestling League there and giving out any information for any future events for 2021. Like I mentioned earlier, this year has been a very difficult year for a lot of people, especially these guys that want to go ahead and travel and wrestle everywhere, but due to restrictions, it's kind of hard. So hopefully 2021 comes with a good glimmer of hope, and hopefully with local wrestling trying to make a comeback here in the Rio Grande Valley. Hopefully we can go out there and just support them, or whether it's there physically or in spirit. At least we can try to go ahead and support them, and also these types of events as well. But moving on, continuing with AEW Winter's Coming, as we mentioned earlier, Dr. Britt Baker did defeat Layla Hirsch, but after the match, she was assaulted by a former NWA Women's World Champion, Thunder Rosa. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing right there. As you guys mentioned, after the tag match between Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes, Sting made his debut. Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes did defeat Team Taz. Now here's some statistics, guys. Did you guys know that in less than 24 hours, Sting's first AEW T-shirt set a new Pro Wrestling Tees record for most sold shirts in 24 hours.
I can believe that.
They are a T-shirt company.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, but I mean, it's a lot. They sold out. I believe they sold out faster than the Young Bucks, Cody, any of the shirts that they had there. I mean, obviously, it's
Not a shocker.
He sold out faster than the Inner Circle
Yeah.
shirts did.
Also, the clip of Sting's shocking AEW debut peaked at number 4 in YouTube's trending feed on that day. The shocking end of Jon Moxley's AEW World Championship run also peaked at number 8 as well that same night. So I mean, for AEW to have two videos peak in pretty much the top 10 spot on YouTube, that says a lot right there. And those were the two biggest shocking moments. Obviously, they and Adam's gonna love this.
But before you get to that, Mike, before you get to that, I'm sorry, Mike. I just got to ask real quick.
What's that?
How cool was it to hear Tony Schiavone yell out for the first time since March 26, 2001? It's Sting.
I heard it's Stang.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I'll be honest, it was very nostalgic. You know what I mean? Like, like I think you had posted something like to what JR was for the Undertaker, Tony Schiavone was for Sting. You know what I mean?
No, I put what JR was to Stone Cold.
Yeah,
Schiavone was
same
to
thing. Well, yeah, same thing almost. Sorry for the wrong analogy there, but yeah, no.
But you're close. You're close. So.
Close, Stone Cold. It was interesting, and I think it's it takes you full back like all the way around. Like it reminds me when I was a kid, and I was seeing Sting fall down from the Raptors, and attacking NWO, and now it's like it's going to be a whole different new ball game. He's going to be working with a lot of young talent. A lot of no name, a lot of Melvins, I guess, according to Devlin over here. I don't know. so I don't. Yeah, and I discussed that with Jay before before you got on the air. I was like, I bet you he's going to say Melvin a lot.
Well,
that's his favorite word.
As a Matt Taven fan, as Adon is,
yeah,
I just say, let him.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very nostalgic, and I'm glad that he'll be the first person to interview him next week, I believe, on Dynamite on next Wednesday show. And it's just going to be good. It's going to be good things for AEW, right? It's gonna equal more ratings, and obviously the war, the wars between both companies, or between AEW and at least WWE are going to get a lot tighter. You know what I mean? And maybe other companies as well.
Now, speaking of ratings, that night they drew 913,000 viewers on TNT, and drew a 0.42 ratings in the key demographics, which is between ages 18 to 49. And tied for the top-rated show among all Wednesday cable telecasts. And this was AEW's best demo rating in 2020, and their highest since the debut, or since November 13 during the Wednesday Night Wars. Now, let's go ahead and get on to the main event. We had the AEW World Championship match between the former defending champion Jon Moxley taking on Kenny Omega. It was a hard-hitting match. Loved it.
But who was also at the commentary set with JR, Schiavone, and with Excalibur?
Invited guest was Don Callis, as Kenny Omega had wanted Don Callis to be there to call his actually first AEW World Title match.
Copy.
But also, I mean, what is Don Callis aside from Omega's confidence?
Don Callis basically is the, I guess he's the EVP in Impact,
right? Alongside Scott D'Amore, yeah.
Yeah, so he's one of the EVPs in Impact Wrestling. So basically, last time we heard Don Callis on an AEW event, it was at Full Gear when Kenny Omega took on Hangman Adam Page, and we were able to see, I believe, Don Callis leaving with Adam, not Adam,
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, before the main event. So it was a good hard hitting match. It was back and forth, lots of teasing on heel turns and whatnot, just teasing on disqualifications. They it was great. If I had to rate that match, I'd say it'd be a 7 stars right there. Not because it's Kenny Omega, but because it was a great match and it led to a great storytelling. Last 5 minutes of the match, Don Callis left to go check on Kenny Omega, who had pretty much landed on one of the heaters on the outside of the ring, which John Moxley just dragged Kenny Omega back into the ring. Callis tried to interfere, in which
he wasn't interfering. He was trying to look out for Omega because Omega could
really?
have suffered
Okay.
a serious
Okay.
concussion or a possible neck injury.
If you're on a ring apron, you're not looking for someone. You're not looking out for someone. You just want to get your ass kicked right there. And that's what
Don Callis want to do that though?
That's what Don Callis to me was looking for, because he tried to interfere in the match, and he did. He got pushed. He shoved the microphone away from the referee's field of vision, and who had the mic? Who had the microphone right there?
I don't remember a microphone interfering. I just remember Omega hit Moxley with a real good right hand, a good straight right that busted open Moxley.
Okay.
And then ultimately Omega put away John Moxley to make history to become the AEW World Champion.
Are you all playing good cop, bad cop or something? Because
not necessarily. I'm just trying to call it like I see it.
Why would we play good cop, bad cop? Come on.
Well, because Jamie there was playing the role of Corey Graves for a while. But now you got Jay playing the role of the king. I'm kind of confused. Guys, either you're with the good guys or you're with the bad guys. I'm heel section through and through.
I'm not with the good guys. I'm not with the bad guys. I'm just with the guys that.
The guy? Get out.
No. I'm just with the talent that I like. Doesn't matter.
Mike, kick him out.
They're good guys or bad guys.
Right, let me boot him.
Mike, you're the head of the table. Kick him out.
Well, that's one guy I will not support, Roman Reigns. No.
So as mentioned, after whatever you saw, Jay, I saw a microphone shot to the head, which caused Moxley to start bleeding. After like 1,000 V triggers, because that's the most overused move next to the super kick from Kenny Omega. He hit the one winged angel and got the 1, 2, 3 and just hightailed it, like if someone was trying to like kick his ass or something, and just left in shock with Don Callis.
Jamie,
maybe he went to go out partying or something. I don't know.
Really, you would definitely hightail it like that, especially when your boss is yelling at you and telling you, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" And you just keep on passing him and pass all your coworkers and all the interviews and stuff. What was the last thing that Callis said when Marvez asked him, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" Like,
all he said was see you on Tuesday night.
But Impact, or not Impact, Dynamite's on Wednesdays.
Yes, he was talking about Impact on Access TV, where Kenny Omega will be this Tuesday night. Now, all of this chaos, no pun intended, there seems to be a partnership between Impact Wrestling and AEW. Now, first and foremost, of course, congrats to Kenny Omega, the first man to be IWGP Heavyweight Champion and AEW World Champion at different points in his career. Perhaps the two most prestigious championships outside of McMahon land. And we got to say it like that. But at the same time, though, when you look at it, there is a lot of potential opportunity for Impact and AEW to work together. I mean, when you look at it, Impact at one point, when they were TNA, had an opportunity to compete with the WWE, and they had the artillery, but just did not have the right person to fire the right shots. And by 2013, a lot of the big guns were leaving, whether it was Hogan, Sting, which at that point I could have felt TNA could have been okay with. When they started losing Styles, SCU, Joe, that's when I knew, okay, something's not right. And yes, the past couple of years, in 2015, 16, 17, they were barely hanging on. I mean, the Hardys, when they introduced the broken gimmick, basically helped revitalize TNA to a point. But when Anthem purchased the company, purchased TNA, and Billy Corgan had left, let's face it, I couldn't tell you what happened in 2017 with Impact after the Hardys made their debut at WrestleMania 33. But with the influx of talent they brought in from Lucha Underground, which is at one point a very hot, popular show, bringing in the Lucha Brothers, Brian Cage, bringing in Tessa Blanchard, who although was not with Lucha Underground, but was well known on the indie scene, it helped re-spark some life into Impact. Now, was Impact doing the same business they were when they were TNA in 2018 as compared to 2008? No, but they're still staying afloat to the point where when they came back to Dallas for Slammiversary, it was, I mean, yes, Gillies is not the American Airlines Center, but it was still a packed house with some good matches.
They had a pay-per-view at a venue called the Bomb Factory. And if that doesn't tell you what's wrong there, then I don't know what to tell you right there.
Well,
okay,
who cares what the name of the venue is? It's about what you bring to the venue. And if people are going to go see the show, then let it be.
Except Gillies, they didn't bring security there.
Well, hey, nothing happened. All I can tell you, the only thing that happened that night was great wrestling. But at the same time,
I got to jump in on this because it kind of went every which way towards the end. Now, Jay, I need you to take some notes. This is how you properly defend the situation with Kenny Omega.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Look,
Kenny Omega had a fall to the outside. Moxley took advantage, hit him against the heaters.
Yeah, I saw that.
Didn't want to wait. Didn't want the match to get disqualified. He wanted to beat Kenny fair and square. Completely understandable. Because the last time they fought, it was in Moxley's backyard, so to speak. Moxley got the advantage. This was supposed to be a straight wrestling match. Moxley wanted to take him out. Moxley could have taken him out when he hit him with the first paradigm shift, but he didn't because he wanted to get back at Kenny because he's still under the impression that it was Kenny that attacked him 2 weeks ago. Now, the situation that Jaime was talking about, the whole microphone situation. Look, Don Callis was concerned for his good friend, the man who he was able to get Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega booked at New Japan Pro Wrestling. Not a lot of people know that, and not very many people talk about it. Don Callis himself hardly even talks about it, but he was the one to get that done. All right, Jericho versus Omega. That was great, right, for New Japan.
Okay.
But Don Callis went to go help his friend, his good friend Kenny Omega, check on him, see if he was all right. He didn't do anything to interfere in the match. He was basically telling the ref to stop the match so that Kenny wouldn't have to continue because he was hurt.
Yeah.
All right. The microphone that he had wasn't working. He wasn't able to talk through the mic. He kept hitting it. Nothing worked.
Is that why he said hey? And you can actually hear him say hey, and
well,
it muffled. It muffled out.
He had to speak a little bit loud.
Silence. So what happened was when the ref told him to get away, Callis dropped the mic. Kenny, being the stand-up man that he is, picked up the mic and was going to throw it. And when he was going to throw it, Moxley happened to run into the microphone.
Okay. All right. Like I happened to be there for.
Kenny was doing his due diligence and getting rid of any debris because there was a gentleman's agreement.
Okay.
None of you brought that up. There was a gentleman's agreement.
Really? Okay.
That was made. Okay. And it wasn't the microphone that beat John Moxley because, come on, let's face it, that would be more ridiculous than a roll-up pin in WWE. But I digress. What it was that helped Kenny Omega get to the victory was a series of brutal V-triggers to an unfortunately bloodied, self-inflicted, by the way, bloodied John Moxley.
All right.
Several V-triggers and the one-winged angel that led to the pin, gave Kenny Omega the championship. And this whole thing about him running away with Don Callis. Look, Don Callis was taking him to go get checked at a medical facility for any concussion protocols to make sure he was all right. All right. And look, why wait till Wednesday? Why not use another platform? The way that we use YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok to, spread our stuff out. Don Callis is just helping Kenny find another platform to announce that he is the AEW World Champion. All right. And as Mike has said on this broadcast, something that we never thought we'd hear, Kenny Omega is the greatest wrestler in the entire world.
And he's got the championship now to prove it.
Amen.
Yes. But at the same token, of course, Kenny Omega, he basically has become what we always knew he could be, the ace of all elite wrestling. And I know that there's going to be the critics of Kenny Omega out there, but to me, don't care. Hey, Omega busted his ass to help make talent in AEW, basically helped revitalize, or not revitalize, but help make the tag team division something special with him and Hangman Page for the bulk of 2020. And now think of the line of challengers, whether they're in AEW, whether they're in Impact, hell, elsewhere that could perhaps challenge Omega for the championship. But ultimately, with Callis featuring AEW's top star on Impact, imagine what it could do if down the line we start seeing talent like Sami Callihan, Eddie Edwards, Deonna Purrazzo, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, who could have signed with AEW, did Gallows and Anderson, but WWE offered them more money, made all these promises that unfortunately they did not fulfill. Imagine seeing them on TNT and perhaps the exposure they can get, since TNT is a little bit more of a bigger platform than Access TV, with all due respect to Access. And imagine if down the line in 2021, because from what I hear, Impact's already filmed all their television for the remainder of the year. The next time they're live would be either, if I'm not mistaken, their upcoming Impact Plus event, Turning Point, or the Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. Imagine if in 2021 we start seeing Omega or MJF or the Bucks or Hikaru Shida show up on Impact, and how that could also help reboost the awareness of Impact Wrestling. Because let's face it, I'll admit, a lot of people have probably gave up on TNA or turned off TNA when they left Spike TV in late 2014. But to align themselves with one of the most prolific and one of the most powerful wrestling promotions out there today, it's basically a who's who, where you can make a lot of stars out of these two companies by the endless amounts. Now, whether that happens or not, we have to wait and see. But there's also rumored that Callis's contract with Impact is coming up for expiration. If it ends up where he ends up coming to AEW full time to be Omega's manager, his mouthpiece, hey, that's great, because Callis is one of the great orators, one of the great promo men in the business. And to put him with Omega, it's like putting Heyman back in the day with Punk, or Bobby Heenan with Nick Bockwinkel. You got the best wrestler and one of the best talkers in the business. It's just going to be money-making going forward with the cleaner and the artist formerly known as Cyrus.
To kind of correct you there, Jay, the next Impact monthly special will be Final Resolution.
There you go, Final Resolution.
Which will be December 12th, live from the Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. The only two matches that have been announced are the Impact World Championship match between defending champion Rich Swann taking on Chris Bay, and a singles match between Ethan Page and Carl Anderson. And the stipulation for that match is that if Page wins, the North will receive a future Impact World Championship or World Tag Team Championship match. Honestly, I think, I really haven't been watching Impact, per se. Like, I watch WWE or AEW. From what I understand, Impact has been losing their stars in and out. We heard this week that 2/3 of the Rascals had signed with WWE. A couple weeks ago, they had their final match in Impact.
Yeah.
RVD, obviously, he refused to sign another contract with Impact, and he was on his way out.
I don't think it was so much he refused. I think just that I think his deal was already up, and I think he was just looking to take some time off. But I don't think it was like where they left on bad terms. It was just a case of where the deal was up, and I think RVD just wanted to kind of do something outside of Impact.
So to me, I feel like Impact is trying to find themselves again, because of after what's happened this whole year. They had their first female world champion, but unfortunately she didn't want to surrender the title and didn't want to sign another deal as well. So they had to give that up. The X Division title being up for grabs multiple times and whatnot. And I feel like, this partnership between Impact Wrestling and AEW, I think Impact is just trying to caddy off of AEW, because AEW is the rising star that TNA Impact wish they were.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. So they're pretty much trying to learn from their old mistakes by watching how AEW is trying to conduct business. Shout out to Danny Villarreal, who's watching this right now, and also D Vargas, who's watching us earlier as well. So I feel like, with this going on, and Impact has pretty much a deal with other companies, and also so does AEW. They can potentially try to obviously take down WWE. Earlier within the week, Triple H was asked, hey, are you guys open for business with other companies? Triple H said obviously yes. Not a lot of people agreed with his comment, but we'll see what happens with 2021 in regards to the Wednesday night war saga, as it will continue throughout this whole year, and we'll see what happens on the next episode of AEW. As mentioned, as you guys mentioned earlier, Sting did sign a multiple deal with AEW, and also announced for the next Dynamite. The Inner Circle has an ultimatum to whether they decide to unite or break up. I feel like someone's going to be a turncoat there and kick out some members. Certain Salt of the Earth, if you catch my drift.
Nope.
Lance Archer and the Lucha Brothers will be taking on Eddie Kingston and the Butcher and the Blade. The Young Bucks will be taking on the Hybrid 2. FTR will taking on the Varsity Blondes, consisting of Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Dustin Rhodes will be taking on number 10 Preston Vance, and MJF versus Orange Cassidy for the AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring final. So we'll see what happens from there.
You know my pick on that one with Orange Cassidy and MJF. I'll just show you.
And Nadan, there's a certain finger that I want to show you, and it's not a thumbs up, and it's right in the middle of my hand too.
It's
That's
next
funny,
to what would be.
I was just kind of got a little itch in the back of my calf.
I believe it's the finger that's next to your wedding ring, Jaime. Which, if it's okay for me to say, Jaime, happy upcoming anniversary to you and your lovely wife.
Thank you. And
I was at the wedding, guys. It was awesome.
That's how I feel about MJF. If I were to have my hand up and tell four of my fingers just to go down, the middle one's just gonna be standing up. So that's exactly how I feel about MJF.
Look, real quick on a serious note, Jaime, on a serious note, I do want to wish you a very in the near future very happy anniversary between you and the missus. It takes a really strong woman to have to stand behind a Melvin such as yourself.
Wow.
However, since we're on the topic of your wonderful taste for your displeasure, if you will, for Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and this whole little thumbs up thing is more ridiculous than a guy kicking off his Crocs in the middle of a ring.
Bro.
Exactly.
What do you got against the Riddle, man?
Look, man, they're making him look like a stoner. I mean, granted, I know he is, but they're making him look like one. Yeah. But anyways, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what?
I will say when Jaime presented me that Matt Riddle action figure, that was my reaction.
Jericho raising the ultimatum is the same thing as a father telling his kids, if you don't behave, I'm going to take away this or I'm going to take away that. It's the same thing. He's just trying to get his family in order. Everything is going to be fine. They're going to be unified. And at the end of the night, Maxwell Jacob Friedman will take out that sad, pathetic little hermit, Orange Cassidy.
Hang on. You said the word, everything will be fine. The last time I heard that sentence, It was not fine. And look where they are. And Jay knows what I'm talking about too.
You might want to refresh my memory on that, Jaime.
Bullet Club.
What he's talking about. You will shut your mouth at this moment, sir. We will not speak of that horrible, horrible day. All right.
It was not fine, and they got their asses handed to them.
It's not the same thing.
It is the same thing, sir.
It is not the same thing.
I'm only just disappointed we never got the conclusion between the Elite and the original Bullet Club before the Elite left New Japan to form AEW.
And there wasn't going to be another one because and the Elite was trying to find a way out of there before they got their asses handed to them by the OGs of the Bullet Club.
So now you're a backer of the OGs of the Bullet Club?
Yeah.
Are you now the new bad boy, Jaime Esteban?
Mm-hmm.
And we say bad boy, we don't mean Joey Janela. We mean the badass himself, Tama Tonga.
Yep.
It was now cleaned up quite a bit. I mean, the long curly hair is gone, the beard, but will it lead to the Gorillas of Destiny finally winning World Tag League? I would say so. I mean, I think it's their time.
Who knows? Who knows?
And speaking of tournaments, Best of Super Juniors, I'm not fully caught up with all the matches from this past week's tournaments, but Jaime, are you still holding on to hope that a new star is born in this year's Best of Super Juniors with Master Wato?
Yes. Yes, I am. Because he is the king of pro wrestling 2020.
I thought that was Toru Yano.
Oh, no, yeah. Sorry.
Who's
got them confused.
He and Ishii have been doing quite well in this year's World Tag League. Somehow, I don't know, like Jaime, you watch a lot of Toru Yano matches, right?
Yep.
Does your monitor go blank like mine does anytime Toru Yano is about to do something mischievous?
Yep.
Well, I should say allegedly mischievous because we don't want to get sued by Mr. Yano.
What Jay means is that he turns off his TV like me, Saul, and Juan do when he comes out. But either way.
I don't know about you, but when people say, "Hey, what are my thoughts on Toru Yano?" I just give them the same reaction. He's cool with me, so I got no issue with him.
I'm out.
But we're gonna go ahead and round it up here. Of course, we're gonna go ahead and end things. The random fan question of the night, but
wait, hang on. I actually had a question for you guys a couple of weeks ago.
Ooh.
And I want to go ahead and cover it right now, if you don't mind.
All right.
So the other day I was on Facebook and I saw a post, and it had me question, the integrity of WWE, not AEW, Aran, WWE, and it said, "Do you think that Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre are the biggest stars since John Cena and Batista in 2005?
No. What?
No.
I'm a Drew McIntyre fan, but I wouldn't put him in that category just yet. Roman Reigns, I plead the fifth.
Mike.
No, yeah, it's a solid no for me.
All right.
The biggest stars since the Cena Batista era are not even in WWE. They're in AEW or they're in New Japan.
Okay. Now,
look, Jaime, look, you of all people should know, you cannot lay claim to that when McMahon hasn't even given anybody that type of momentum. Like,
well,
okay,
there's
you want to talk about screwing everything up for everybody, every young star that comes into WWE. Look at Keith Lee, ruined the moment he stepped foot into the main roster. All right,
is he really ruined?
Really,
everybody's been ruined. They ruined Bro. They ruined friggin' Lee. They ruined Ripley, and she's not even on the main roster, and they ruined her. Like they ruined everybody.
They deaded the Fiend when he lost to Goldberg at Super Showdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Why? Because the Saudis wanted to see him win? That's so stupid. Like I get it. They're not going to see the Fiend for another 10 years over there. Okay? And then we're going to have to get Bray Wyatt out of retirement. I can guarantee you, give it about a month or so, Undertaker will come back to NXT because it was his dream as a child to be NXT champion.
I can only hope that does not happen.
Have I ever told you that that's probably been one of my biggest pet peeves on NXT, especially when Johnny Gargano was fighting his umpteenth time against Tommaso Ciampa to win the NXT championship, and they had that little vignette where he's like, I've been dreaming about winning this championship since I was a child. Because when he was a child, NXT was a thing back then.
But Gargano and Ciampa was the most entertaining feud of 2018 as opposed to anything WWE had on the main roster at the time.
Right. But up until most recently, let's say November of 2018 or 2019, we had the first AEW Dynamite, and NXT, if I remember correctly, was only available on the WWE Network, which you could get for $9.99.
Well, actually, to kind of correct you, the first hour was available on USA Network, and then the second hour was on the WWE Network.
Whatever.
For just $9.99.
Just wanted to correct you right there.
And even when they brought NXT to the USA Network, they did nothing to build that brand. All they did was they just brought in stars from Raw and SmackDown to give them a little bit of a boost so they can compete with AEW. AEW, one of the things that bothered me so much was everybody's like, oh, well, they got all these ex-WWE guys. Yeah, of course they're going to have ex-WWE guys. They're the guys that nobody cared about in WWE. You look at what WWE's done to guys like Ricochet, what they've done to guys like Keith Lee, what they've done to guys like Cedric Alexander, who just because he's with the Hurt Business is getting something. But even the Hurt Business, after fighting against the New Day several times, could not beat them for the tag team championships. Fights them a week before the pay-per-view Survivor Series to win the tag team championships. They lose after Survivor Series. They fight them again for the tag team championships, and they don't even get a win. They lose. They get They get counted out, and then they lose an actual loss to the most devastating move in all of WWE, the roll-up.
The Tornado DVD. What?
The roll-up. Yep.
Or anyone in Retribution, they've already pretty much ruined. I mean, how many times are we going to see Mustafa Ali on TV one time, only for him to be not appearing on television yet again until 2 months later, 3 months later?
Look, they ruined T-Bone, Chew Toy, Guavana, Guara, whatever the hell their names are. Like, they've ruined them. They ruined them all. Why can't Mia Yim be freaking Mia Yim? Why can't we have Donovan Dijakovic? Whatever.
We did have Mia Yim there. She lost her mask this past Monday night on Raw.
Yeah.
So what? Now she's Mia Yim. She was.
I don't know.
She was. Was it Retribution?
Wait, is one of those
Reckoning? Reckoning.
I know, it's ridiculous. But
okay. Now here's my question for you guys. Then who are the top stars since 2005? I mean, I know you guys mentioned AEW. They're some in AEW. Okay.
Becky Lynch at one point was one of the hottest stars.
But I mean, like the top two draw. Remember, I mean, John Cena and Batista. There was a lot of hype to them all the way up until the end of 05.
Or just in general.
I mean, in general, from 05 until now. Who do you think were the top two stars?
Since Cena and Batista, I would say Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. Okay, and who else?
But even then, you can't count Becky Lynch because she was only a splash in the pan for a while, for like what, a year, and
then she got taken out by Seth Rollins.
If given time, I would say the Fiend.
Well, I'd have to agree with Jay on Becky Lynch, and my other pick, and you guys will hate me for this, is Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Okay.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
Look, Mike, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I can't hate you for that answer because he was given everything, man. Mm-hmm. That guy was given the championship that he never defended. He never appeared on Raw. He would only show up when they needed him, and that's it.
But
nobody would beat him. They put him up against some. They even they ruined so many things, dude. There's so much momentum they could have given to so many other guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Drew.
People hate on Brock Lesnar, right? But the thing is, as soon as he disappears, the ratings drop.
Well, that's
because so here's the reason why. Because whenever he would come back, people would want to know who's going to fight Brock, who's going to beat Brock for the championship. it had, that's part of the lure that was with Brock. It wasn't just the fact that it was Brock Lesnar, right? Because I mean, it's like Larry the Cable Guy. You go to Larry the Cable Guy, you see a bunch of rednecks looking exactly like him. And that's what it is. Brock Lesnar was the same way. Everybody who knew Brock back then and loved Brock back then still loves Brock now, and a lot of people love. But you have to understand the WWE universe is much like people nowadays. You have some moron who can hypnotize the mass public and make them think specific things, and they go with it. And I'm referring to Donald Trump. Again, I'm not trying to get political, but it's the same thing. WWE is the same way.
Again, he is entitled to his own opinion, and if you want to beat the crap out of him, I can go ahead and text you his address.
But the whole thing with WWE is that they don't give their stars the proper amount of time to build. Like this whole thing that's going on with Roman Reigns, I will say it's the first time they've ever actually made him interesting. Granted, he still kind of slips on his promos every now and then, but so far so good. I'm liking this whole thing, and I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with Jey Uso. Like, because right now he's getting a lot of momentum. When Jimmy comes back, it's not going to be the same. Jay's basically becoming the Shawn Michaels of this rocker situation. So, you have to kind of look at it that way. But are they going to go with it? Are they going to keep going? The Fiend had great momentum when he came out. When they introduced him, he was doing all this amazing stuff. Everybody was really into him, and then he loses to Goldberg.
I got another person I can answer to the 05 question about Cena Batista. And had it not been for injuries that hampered his career, he probably could have been one of the biggest names today, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
What is the most popular thing that became just like, what? The yes chant. Where now the yes chant basically is used for anything, even at non-WWE shows. If Bryan's neck injury had not hampered him like it did in 2014, or what led to his retirement in 2016 with the concussions, imagine how many main events we could have seen Bryan in throughout those years that he was out of wrestling, who we could have seen, the dream matches we could have seen sooner had it not been for Bryan's time away from wrestling.
You know what? I'll agree with Jay on that because organically, Bryan was the only one who actually was built up. And the only reason why he got his WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 30 was because of the fact that the people were making their voices heard. And they were not going to let Triple H mess up this thing that they had with Bryan, because they were doing so many things. Like they built up Bryan and then they took it away from him, right? At SummerSlam. They built up Bryan, they took it away from him, and then after that, like he did his whole thing with, where he started building the yes chant movement, or the yes movement started building. And then even after he left, even after he retired and stopped wrestling, when they said that he was never going to come back, when he came back, Bryan was still, it still hit the same way it did before. And if you watched tonight's SmackDown, and I hate saying this because when they did the Pat Patterson bell salute, and at the end you had the crowd chanting "Thank you, Pat." But when they did the pan of the TVs, nobody was moving their mouths. Nobody was saying anything. And again, there's no dig at Pat Patterson. I think he would have gotten that reaction had it been a live crowd. But that was filtered in audio for Pat, which is great, awesome. The only person that got a legit response when he came out and when he won the match was Daniel Bryan. Mm-hmm. If you look at the screens, you have people in the back doing the yes chants, and everybody on the screens in the back, even the cutout of the Young Bucks that was in the back that nobody saw, they were doing the yes chant.
But yeah, I mean, if sometimes when WWE does not have their hands on something, it can come out to be the best thing. I mean, look at the Fiend before Saudi Arabia, but since then, if done right, like I said, I could see the Fiend as the winner of this year's Royal Rumble. And if they just let it be, don't make any modifications. Let the Fiend be. He could be your next big star. That could be the reason why people are showing up every Monday night to Raw. I don't know what house show business will be like if there is a house show business after the pandemic, but he could be the reason why people are coming to the arenas for TV or network events.
Now here's my question. Here's my question. I know you mentioned, your Daniel Bryan's, your Becky Lynch and all these other people. What about CM Punk? He was a hot commodity, 2011 up until 2012.
They did so much. They did so much to him that I could see why he walked out. Losing to guys that were part-timers like The Undertaker, with all due respect, me, I'm a big Undertaker fan. But what was that going to gain? Brock, The Rock. Yeah. And then even Triple H, early in Punk's momentum in the summer of Punk 2011. What was losing to Triple H going to do for Punk other than just, make him look foolish? And to me, when Punk said to Triple H, I don't need to wrestle you, you need to wrestle me, Punk was not going to fall for the games that Triple H was going to have, because who knows what could have been if their match did happen at WrestleMania 30 had Punk not walked out. But it was just a case of where there was just too much damage done to where I could see why he walked out, and it's a damn shame. But I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, just wrap things up. Just a quick question, of course, and this is, like I said, just a random fan question that I come up with as a fan, because, hey, I'm a fan first, analyst second. Favorite memory or memories? Try not to, we'll go ahead and start with Mike, and that's of the man that made his debut this past week on AEW, of the man called Sting.
So favorite memories in general, or what?
Whether it was you got to see him live in person, if you met Sting, or memories of when you saw him on television, whether WCW, TNA, or even his WWE run.
I think probably the first time I ever saw Sting wrestle in an actual TV match or televised match, it was probably when I was renting old school WWF VHSs at your local Blockbuster video stores. And I'm pretty sure that I would watch either WCW or even it was early WCW stuff, obviously, right? But he had that, that face paint, not the dark, the white and black, but it was the very colorful one. And I really like that one.
And look a little something like this.
Yeah, that one. The Ultimate Warrior version of the Sting. A lot of people don't know that those two got into the business together. By the way, him and Ultimate Warrior. But anyways,
the Blade Runners.
Yeah. So, but again, one went one way, one went to WWE, the other one went to NWA, aka WCW at the time. And then, I actually did get to meet him a couple years ago, me with one of our colleagues over here, Tony Matuk, right? I went to Comic-Con, maybe, what is this, 2018, 2017? I don't even remember exactly when. I paid for VIP access to go meet him, because I was like, if this is going to be the only time I ever get to meet Sting, then I'm gonna go all out. So I'm gonna get the photo op. I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna have him do some signatures, whatever. Real nice guy, lot bigger in person. I have a picture of him over here in the background, and it's right there. That's me, Sting, and Tony right there. If you guys can see that, right next to Darth Maul over here.
I see it.
It's right there. But yeah, real nice guy in person. Very humble. Very Christian guy. And again, he's just been in a lot of feuds over the years. That I would love to watch. Obviously my favorite was him versus Hulk Hogan back in the day, and when they were just trying to take down the NWO, and he was just the solo guy that just beat everybody up with the bat. And just was able to do it, even though there was 8 or 9 people against one guy, and he was able to just take everybody out. You wouldn't see that in wrestling nowadays, you know what I mean? And in 2020, you see one guy in there, and it just takes 1 or 2 other guys to take him down. But you won't see one guy with a baseball bat or a kendo stick or something like that trying to take down 8 or 9 guys at once. So I mean, he had a lot of good memories. Obviously, a legend. I didn't really follow him in his Impact days, or the TNA days, so to speak, right? It was a shame that he never really wanted to transition over to WWE, because obviously we would have wanted to see those big matches like him versus The Undertaker, which is the match everyone wanted even back then. And even Undertaker says now that it would have been a dream match. Obviously, it's one of those matches that should have happened but didn't, and it wouldn't work now in my opinion. You know, I don't think at this point in their careers, they're pretty much done. Obviously, Taker is completely done now. Well, sort of, so they say, right? But you never know.
Well, I mean,
Back
there
next week.
was there's a rumor going around that Taker wanted to take on Sting in a cinematic match, and obviously the old man said no.
McMahon,
Not Taker,
yeah,
but McMahon.
So yeah, I mean, pretty much, you know, I mean, again, I probably had a couple of Sting action figures back in the day also, and I still have the Sting shirt that I got at Comic-Con that year. At least I'm pretty sure it's laying around somewhere. So I've always been a fan, you know what I mean? I never did the face paint for Halloween or anything like that, although he's one of those most recognizable characters like ever in the wrestling industry, and you know, his wrestling credentials will stand the test of time. So you know, I'm excited to see what he will bring to AEW. What the talent he's gonna work with. Will he ever be AEW World Champion? That's my question. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I would definitely love to see, especially at his age. You know, him and Jericho.
For me, with Sting, I mean, I followed his career going back to when he was the young lion going after the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan pretty much my entire life. I'm giving you my age, so you can do the math from there.
55.
But I wish I was right next to you, so I could throw some paper towels at you. Anyway, but as a kid growing up, I wasn't the richest kid in the world. And to be honest with you, I'm still not. Just lucky. But I couldn't afford seeing WrestleMania 4 to see either Hulk Hogan or the Macho Man win the WWE title in that one-night tournament. But to see the Clash of Champions where Sting got to face Ric Flair for the NWA World title and for it to go 45 minutes, it's what helped make Sting. And then, of course, to see him later on eventually beat Flair at the Great American Bash after coming back from a career-ending knee injury. To then, of course, his war with the NWO, his transition from that superhero, blonde, flat-top haircut, colorful face paint, to the more darker vigilante, before he was called the Vigilante at one point in WWE, with the crow face paint and everything that just looks so badass that it was almost like that evolution of Sting, you know, going from the light to the dark and eventually back again. But there to, of course, avenge what had happened with the NWO and the turning of Hulk Hogan to the dark side, to, of course, leading to their match at Starrcade. One of my personal favorite Sting memories is, of course, and I told Mike and Jaime this, that I was going to wrestling shows long before the Rio Grande Valley had arenas. And that one of those opportunities was WCW when they came to Monday Nitro at South Padre at the Sheraton Hotel Beach. It was on a beach. It was their spring break episode. And getting to see Sting and another guy I would later become a fan of, Vampiro, the Brothers in Pain, team up against Ric Flair and Lex Luger. I was just like, to me, the two biggest names I was there to see was Hulk Hogan and Sting. And to see Sting, that was like, to me, getting to see Kiss live. And I never got that opportunity, but I got to see wrestling's version of Kiss with Sting live in person twice, WCW, and then TNA when they came to San Antonio at the Alamo Dome for Lockdown, where they had the Lethal Lockdown match, Sting and his squadron, his team, TNA soldiers against the Aces and Eights. I'm sure Hyman and Don, you remember that storyline. And to me, still one of the biggest moments for me as a fan was seeing him finally debut at WWE at Survivor Series when he showed up for the first time in a WWE arena and just knocked it and just put Triple H down with the Scorpion Death Drop. It was just, I still get goosebumps thinking about it, man. Yeah, just I'm glad WWE's loss is AEW's gain, and good to be seeing I look forward to Wednesday nights even more now that the icon is with All Elite Wrestling. So, I'm Don. Anything you want to share before we wrap things up with Sting?
Melvin?
Well, that's all. My favorite Sting match, and Jay, you are definitely not going to like this one, so I advise you to cover your ears, is the 1 minute and 28 seconds match at Victory Road in 2011 against Jeff Hardy. That is my favorite Sting match.
I already barely like you as it is now. Now I'm gonna have to really send the Briscoe shirt in your direction.
No,
Ah,
but not honestly though. I mean, you know, obviously, you guys have a huge or age factor over me, because you guys have a lot of memories watching Sting. You know, in his heydays in WCW. You know, I vaguely remember him. You know, in WCW, I remember his feuds against Vampiro. You know, obviously, you know my favorite match. Well, I mean, oh, crap. I mean, I really can't think of
versus Sting.
one.
and we're showing our ages.
I can't really think of one, you know, Sting match that I can say that I really liked, due to the fact that, you know, the other company is pretty much non-existent anymore, TNA. But I mean, I know that he's had a couple of handful matches there. He's won world titles there. Um, I mean, I'm just gonna stick with the dream match between Sting and the Undertaker. I would have said, you know, Sting and Triple H, but you know that one was downright terrible, and I think Sting should have won that one. And I think Sting should have also won against Seth Rollins, but you know, due to the nature of that match, he was injured and was unable to recuperate, due to the fact that uh, you know, that turnbuckle bomb really messed him up pretty bad, and just cost him his career.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, any Sting matches before the whole Jeff Hardy incident would be great. I think one that can actually stick out now that I can remember is Sting versus Abyss, the last rights match. Um, and I mean that's the only one, that one, and his match against Vampiro in WCW. So
I mean, I have no memory of you right now.
Oh,
Don, save the show, please.
Oh wow!
that's what I'm here for. Winter is coming. I came.
Put on some
I'm
pants,
here.
sir.
So, what the? So when it comes to Sting, and I'm pretty sure y'all caught this too, but one of my fondest memories was when they went into War Games, when it was WCW versus NWO. They you know, they had the fake Sting come in as the last man.
Yeah.
And then the real Sting came in for the last man for WCW. And Sting took everybody out. And then what did he do? He walked out. When Sting came back, when he was gone for a while and he came back, he stayed silent for for a little over a year, or about a year. He stayed silent, not saying a word, only gestures and attacking the NWO, making people, and then even sometimes almost attacking a lot of the WCW guys, you know, kind of making people wonder, like, well, whose side is he on? And on Wednesday night, I got that exact same vibe when Sting walks into the ring and he gets face to face with Darby Allin, face to
Darby
face
Allin
with
said,
Dustin
"Dad."
Rhodes, and then he gets face to face with Cody. And then not saying a word, not doing a single thing. And it was wonderful, because it was just like, so why is he there? Like, why is he here? Why did he go up to those guys in particular? What is his purpose for being in AEW? You know, the only thing that kind of threw it off for me and my friend Saul was the one that brought it up, and I agree with him, was when Sting did his trademark woo. Like, that was the only thing that kind of threw it off, because he was doing real good being silent. But regardless, it was good seeing him, and it just brought back so much nostalgia of WCW, you know, in those days, you know, back in the 90s, you know, when it was fun to be a wrestling fan. You know, nowadays it's not so much fun, because after Sting came out, you had all these guys that were like, "Oh, look, it's another WWE guy in AEW," but they're stupid because they don't realize that Sting was a product of TNT. You know, the NWA, but became more popular when it was on TNT or WCW, and for him to come back to the station that pretty much made his career. You know, you have Sting back on TNT, you know, where he used to be. And the wonderful thing that I love about AEW is that even though they have all these ex-WWE guys, you know, you got Cody, you got Moxley, you have Miro, you have
Brody
the
Lee.
FTR, like all these
Yeah.
guys that have gotten there, like, you know, not everybody was just given everything right away. Everything took time. Like Moxley didn't get the championship right away. He built up to it. He built up to it to a feud with Jericho where he won it at Revolution, and Jericho had it for a few months. You know, Jericho was able to bring some attention to the title. Moxley took it away. Had a really good run with it. You know, you have guys like FTR who were painfully overlooked in WWE.
Yeah.
And then now, you know, you got to see the type of wrestlers that they are going up against the Bucks. And what I loved about that match was that the ending of it was so poetic because of the fact that FTR's slogan in WWE was "No flips, just kicks." And how do they lose? Dash goes for a 450 with Dax. You know, goes for a 450, misses, and then loses because he took that risk. Like the whole match was wonderfully laid out, and the ending was great. And then what I love about AEW is the way they kind of built things. You know, it's not based on all these other guys. There's all this young talent. You have Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin. You have Ricky Starks. You have the Private Party. You know, all these young guys. And then the tag team that they just signed, the Acclaimed. You have all these guys coming up. So Sting being there is just going to give more opportunity for him to help build a star. And I think it's going to be Darby. You know, and if I'm wrong, I would love to see who Sting's going to take under his wing, because there's so many other guys that Sting can go for. Like, imagine Sting like siding with Pillman. That would be something. Granted, there was no legitimate history with Sting, but they did wrestle in WCW together.
Yep.
And so there's that possibility of that being a door that could open. Like you have Tully Blanchard who's there with FTR and Sean Spears. You have Arn with Cody. You know, granted, Cody doesn't need Arn, but it's just the fact that there's history. And then there's history with Sting and Arn, history with Sting and Tully. Like, there's so many things that's going to happen, man, and I'm super excited. So as far as memories go, it's just the Sting of the past, basically being able to come back and being given the opportunity to finally retire properly and not be given such a horrible run, you know, just to spite who he was and what company he represented back then.
Yeah.
It's a chance for him to go out the way he wanted to, you know, and not losing a match at WrestleMania to Baron Corbin. Sorry, Kurt. But
well said.
You know, and that's what I'm excited about. I'm happy that he's there. I marked out so bad. My kids were like, "Dad, what the hell's wrong with you?" I was like,
I would have questioned your sanity too.
It was in the back of my mind. This thing was going to come out at some point. I just didn't think he was going to come out that night because there was so much going on. And then you top that with the fact that Kenny actually beat Moxley, and then he runs off with Callis, and they're going to be on Axis on Impact. Like the doors that have opened, the floodgates that we need to be prepared for are going to be amazing. FTR versus the North, Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers. You have Sami Callihan versus Moxley, Sami Callihan versus friggin' Eddie Kingston, which is something that's technically been done. But, you know, you have that door open. You know, there's so many things that you can do. And then you have Deonna Purrazzo versus Britt Baker, Deonna Purrazzo versus
Sheeta,
you know, and all this other stuff. And then God knows what the fuck Shaq's going to do, because we haven't even talked about that, which is amazing. But apparently Shaq's going to go after Cody for some fucking reason.
Probably the best we don't talk about that, the better, I guess. But
all I gotta say is that my favorite Sting moment in the movie is Ready to Rumble. So let's just go ahead and close this show before I get killed right now.
Yes. And also another favorite Sting TNT memory, the movie Shutter Speed that he released in 2000. But anyway, guys, it's been fun. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Again, we thank the very infamous Devlin Frost for showing up tonight for Armbar. Hope to have you here on more episodes to come. For Mike and for 7-Star Esteban, who I will disown as a friend after the Sting Jeff Hardy reference. Just kidding, hi, man.
I don't care.
I'm the rock star Jay Ochoa.
Wait, we forgot Kenny too. We forgot Kenny.
Say goodnight to Kenny.
And the Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion.
I swear to God, I know that Mike's looking for the day where he goes, "Oh my God, they killed Kenny." Just watch. Just watch.
For all of us here,
That's
at
going to be
Armbar,
Mike's saving grace. When
For all of us
Kenny
here at
loses the title,
yeah,
he's going to say, "Oh my God, they killed Kenny." Just watch. Mike,
Yeah.
you're going to make a shirt and you're going to sell it. It's going to be great.
ProWrestlingTees.com. For all of us here at Armbar, have a good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Peace.
Good night and goodbye. Mwah.
Bang.
Bye.